What is happening, ladies and gents? What is happening? What is happening? Look, welcome to Election Night in the Commonwealth. Look, presented by SchezzWho and the Arrington Gavin Podcast. I'm your guy, Arrington Gavin. With me is my co-host and friend, Mr. Conrad SchezzVenture. Conrad, how you doing there, sir?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am doing awesome. Look, it's election night. We got big elections. It's probably one. I think Virginia is like the most talked about state going on right now in the U.S. We have 140 seats up for grab. 100 100 House seats and then 40 Senate seats. So it's a big election we have going on. But we're excited because we have some awesome people that's going to be joining us for 2 hours here, and we have we're going to have some friends of ours that are community activists, great experience in politics. We're hoping to have some candidates, former officials, and even like some winners. We don't know. We might have some people pop in. So we're excited to get this show on the road. As you see on the screen right now, we have Miss Nakia Miller. All right. Nakia Miller is a political and branding strategist. We also have Mr. Marcus Calabrese, founder of Image Capital Group. And then we also have Miss Melissa Luxon, my friend, Miss Melissa Luxon. What's going on, Melissa, community activist? We're so excited to have everyone on. Conrad, man, you want to open the floor with, what's off the mind, man? Let's open the floor. Let's get it going.
Well, if you don't mind me beginning with a little bit of intro myself, I want to talk a little bit about me. That way you can talk a little bit about yourself. We'll each give a little bit of introduction. Of course, I am Conrad SchezzVenture, host of SchezzWho, and of course, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, SchezzWho, like and comment and share, just like the A. Gavin podcast on our Smooth Club Media. Make sure you like and share all of that. I want to take this moment at the top of the show to shout out several important things for me. The first being my wife, Andrea. Of course, she has joined me on the 757 Battle Cats and created the very YouTube channel that I use. My success is via her. So Seiko Varner also gets credit from me because he helped bring me on to podcasting. So Seiko over Positive Vibes Incorporated provides entertainment and consulting services. Can't forget shouting out Charlie Roy at Southern Volkswagen and Greenbrier, Ellen at Ellen's Home Style and Barbecue, and Mike Mescal, the co-founder of the Virginia Beach Progressive Caucus. Now, aside from that, we're about to jump into looking at all the marbles, or perhaps if you want to look at it, 66% of the marbles, because tonight both the Virginia House and Senate are up for election, and the legislative direction of our state is at stake, and it's going to be very juicy. That no other way to put it, I would say.
Juicy, but yeah, it really is going to be juicy. Melissa, what's your take on these elections? It's a big night. What can you say about how important really these elections are?
Well, since we are the first, not even the first, the last line of defense for reproductive rights in our state, all of the southern states have actually gone to some pretty aggressive abortion bans. And so these are critical so we can hold the line. Governor Youngkin was on Fox News just last night, stating how he has plans to go for that abortion ban as soon as he gets his trifecta that he's looking for. And so it's critical from that perspective, but also we're going to do our budget, which in Virginia, we do a 2-year budget. And because of the divestment that's happened in public education, I believe this election is also really critical because we're about to start our, 24 through 26 budget. And I think a strong presentation by Democrats in the legislature will actually get Virginians some economic relief that they're looking for, and some, things like hopefully we can get through free school lunches for every child, things like that, instead of, like spending money trying to lure the Washington Commanders. Let's feed children. It'd be great.
Always that great spending of money it is trying to lure in a professional sports team.
Yeah, great use of tax dollars.
Absolutely. Miss Nakia Miller, Look, we've had our group chat going on. Look, what are some races you have been, paying attention so far during this election season? Oh,
there's been several. On the South side, I guess the big three, which is Clint Jenkins's race, Fagan's, and the two delegate races in Chesapeake, the Nadarius and Karen Jenkins. On the peninsula, which is kind of my home turf, the attention grabber is Monty Mason and Diggs's race. For the delegate seats, Shelley Simons, of course, the Cordoza-Taylor race, which is pretty much so going exactly how I thought it would go, and the race with Jess Anderson, which is very close. So I'm keeping my eyes open, and hopefully we will have some great showings, and we can hold the blue line and take it in the General Assembly. But it's a lot. It's not predictable, to say the least.
Did y'all, just real quick on the Jess Anderson race, did y'all see those videos of what was going on at William and Mary today?
I did not.
The line.
I did not.
Oh, y'all. The same day registrations and votings from college students at William and Mary was out the door, around the bend. It was. It's really amazing.
Really?
Yep. Videos started posting around 3:00 this afternoon, and they were at many, I want to say that they said that the line was that particular line was for same day registration and voting.
Wow. So I'm wondering though, with that big of a showing at William and Mary for same day registration, what are they going to do with the provisionals? Because a lot of people don't realize that the same day registration is for provisional ballots, not for.
Right. But as long as the elections, elections verifies verifies that where they're supposed to be voting, they verified that, the provisional ballot will count.
Okay.
So let's, it should count the same as long as everything on the Department of Elections side checks out.
I just did a double check on
this is the good old Commonwealth.
What was that, Conrad?
I just checked on the elections website, and that race for Jess Anderson as of 3 minutes ago, with localities reporting 1 of 3, is at 52% Amanda Batten and 47% Jessica Anderson at the moment.
Okay, and we're actually going to be popping up some of those results on the screen when we see if
it's
see
so
if our guy has it going.
Yeah, there's some. I'm on the Department of Elections right now, and they're slow. We got like 3.5% at least just in Virginia Beach reporting, for example.
Oh, here we go. So we mentioned earlier. I know we've mentioned Karen Jenkins and Ennis Baxter, or Baxter Ennis. I always get it mixed up. I'm like, is it Baxter Ennis or Ennis Baxter? What one flows a little better? But that one's actually very it's neck and neck. It's Karen it's a slight lead over Ennis, but it's extremely close. And like you said, Melissa, it's still very early. I know before when we were getting the show started, Nakia, I know you had checked out was it Diggs? Was the Diggs and Mason race going on?
Yes.
That Donovan Van Valkenburg race, y'all, that is one to watch too. Siobhan Donovan, she's part of the Stolly Empire. And he's a GYN that doesn't, apparently, according to doesn't prescribe birth control to women.
Well, look, Marcus, we got Marcus just sitting back, man. Marcus, we got to bring you on in, man. We got to bring you on in. So we were talking about the Mason and Diggs race earlier, and not gonna lie, like I was seeing a lot of BLM, what they were posting about, hey, why not to vote for Mason? Now, can you explain like why BLM was very involved and very involved in this race, the Mason and Diggs race?
I was actually attending an event where the one of the Black Lives Matter for Hampton Roads leaders kind of joined. Came and was quite boisterous and very, very vocal. The question was brought up. Were they paid to participate? Were they encouraged to participate? Because it was a little risky coming onto private property to do that. Apparently, there was something that came out about Monty where they felt like it was racist and struck the chord of white supremacy. I haven't seen it, so I won't speak to it. But that's what was brought up.
Mm-hmm.
I think it will have a little bit of a factor, but I still think Danny Diggs wins. He might not walk away with it, but I think he wins. It's not a landslide, but he wins. And there's more to Black Lives Matter being involved. I think it's a good, healthy distraction. If the Republicans did encourage that to happen, it's a good, healthy distraction. It's a good strategy, but just to kind of keep your opposition guessing. But I don't think it had too much of an impact. Just a good distraction.
Gotcha.
Now, I would touch on, I watched a little bit of the video that he shared today. It's more than 6 minutes long, telling people not to vote for Mason. And I think he was holding up a copy of this alleged flyer for a slave auction in William and Mary in 1989 that he was the fraternity president of. And that is, I guess, all the type of thing that you need to run with in order to create a last-second distraction, as Marcus would say. But yeah, I did see that video. I'm curious is that really going to turn that much of it, considering it happened on Election Day? Perhaps Diggs already had enough momentum. I'm not sure. I would have to lean to Marcus on that one.
Well,
I think that Diggs already had the momentum. I mean, if you look at their advertisements, one, Diggs definitely had the money. That's a given. Plus, if you look at the line, close to York County, excuse me, you can take a guess how those two municipalities vote. They're very, they're definitely conservative. Yorktown might be a little purple in some areas, but it's definitely heavily leaning Republican. And a lot of people feel like Monty didn't really do that much outreach to the African American base. So there is that feeling that's out there.
Well, let me chime in here. Well, for one thing, I have to give it to Diggs because the way that the flyer kind of broke was with Diggs basically calling out Black voters and framing it to say, this is your candidate. But if you look at, I mean, let's get real. There's a lot of things within this that were problematic from the start. I agree with Marcus that the DPVA really did not, didn't provide a strong candidate to begin with. Monty Mason, whereas he's an incumbent, he has been a problem candidate. And, you have Diggs that, with this momentum that, the law enforcement, pure, all American, type person, whereas you talk to voters of color and they're like, okay, this is, we've got this flyer, and then we have the former the sheriff of York Pocosin, does this turn into honestly a case of the battle of two racists? And what do you do with that? And especially with the redraw of the districts, Diggs made it even in his campaign launch, he's like, the one thing that they'll never call me in the that they'll call me in the Senate is a rhino. And that to me is a straight threat to anyone. But I really do want to see what what the push will be, because right now Shelley Simons is leading in her district, and especially if there is that push with Jess Anderson's race, then he might inch out. Mason may inch out, but this is not going to be one of those oh my God, landslide. You're going to be able to see it from the gate who's going to be the success story in this. It's going to drag out, in my opinion.
As I just checked, Diggs is up 52-47 with that. I think about 3 of the 5 localities reporting.
I had a question to throw out in the floor. Let's kind of talk about the black vote, because I've mentioned, I feel like it's kind of been like tossed out of, okay, this guy, old photo surfaces of him doing a racist acts in the 80s, another guy coming out saying, hey, I'm a rhino, giving you his true colors. How big is the black vote? Because I feel as though, as a young African-American male, it's a lot of my friends could care less about voting, and not a lot, but I'll just say some. And I feel as though the typical, unmade promises being made, or up is just some common, crooks that just want to get their pockets aligned and whatever, more money over morals kind of thing. Anybody can answer, like, how important do you think the black vote is currently with the elections going on?
Well, I know nothing about that. No, I'm just playing. It's essential. I mean, let's just be real. Especially when you look at just the importance of not only just the black vote, but the black female vote. It's dire in the Commonwealth. And I've said this before, a lot of people, especially in this election, they kind of had that complacent thought that, oh, well, women in general are going to push this vote over because of it being, a repro rights election. And I've said, from the beginning that those are, the repro rights agenda in this is really going to cancel itself out, because you're going to have the liberal and progressive vote that is going to turn out for, to make sure that Virginia, stays an abortion access state. But then you're also going to have the other side of that turnout as well. And the hope is that, the right side is the push, and I don't even have to go into which one I think is the right side of history. So then you have the other outlying things that you hope give people the motivation to show up to the polls. And, especially with the African-American vote, you think about, criminal justice reform, you think about education, you think about all of those things But again, then you look at the candidates you have and you're like, are you sure that these are the candidates that are going to push is that, the Black vote is going to look for? And that's a toss-up. That's a toss-up.
Marcus, what do you think? You worked with, you've been a consultant on many campaigns, on both sides of the aisle. How big, is the Black vote? How important is the Black vote? Excuse me.
Well, the Black vote is very important, but it's not very respected, So what ends up happening, and I've helped candidates on both sides of the aisle reach the Black vote, and they don't realize how simple it is sometimes. But voters end up making the mistake sometimes by not expecting or not requiring candidates to actually take the time to speak to them. If you look at some of these commercials, especially with Republicans, they'll have one Black friend in the commercial, right? And literally they will be so dark they're almost purple, Right?
I have an example.
Wow.
And they have their one, right? And they have their one Black friend. And they walk down the sidewalk, and they turn and they shake their head, And if you look at these commercials, the funny thing is they're all on either side. They're all done at the same playground, at the same school, or at the same church. And whether voters realize it or not, I believe they're processing subconsciously that this guy, this woman, doesn't care about my vote. Why? Because you keep seeing the same old, versus if you actually took the time to change the location, change your shirt, change certain words, you reach more people. So it's actually very simple. I don't want to say easy, because easy doesn't always mean simple, but it's very simple for candidates to reach Black voters if you take the time to do it. Really all they have to do is really talk about serious issues. And they can do it simply. It's all about literally, as people used to say in politics, we want to talk about kitchen table issues. Okay, let's actually do that, And instead of talking about, making sure our children have high quality education, mention the school, have a platform that includes the actual mention of. So if you're a delegate or state senator running in Virginia Beach, you can still talk about Norfolk State, because Norfolk State has a higher ed center, right? Right. Suffolk has a higher ed center. You can still talk about how important it is to have these higher education centers have programs. I'm giving away free advice in the neighborhoods. It's not hard. It's not hard to say you want to be a sitting, a working councilman or a working delegate who bridges relationships between higher education and the community. For example, and you put that on your palm card. Don't take a picture in front of the Norfolk State University marquee. Go in the classroom. Why? If you take a picture in the classroom, Norfolk State alumni will realize I had a class there. It's really simple stuff. And so the vote is so disrespected, it's almost not important. But it would be if they took the time to care.
And guys, would you? Oh, I'm sorry. Were you about to say, Conrad?
I want to follow up on that anecdote, because I just pictured the most recent Karen Greenhall commercial I saw, and that's Eric Ray. I know who Eric Ray is, and if he's going to show up in the video, it's like he was chosen for a reason.
Right. And even if you don't know Eric Ray, right? Eric Ray ran. He's never won, but Eric Ray has ran 3 or 4 times. So that means safe lowball, 10 to 20,000 people know his name and face. They may not know him personally, and he's got more votes than that, right? But at least 10 to 20,000 people remember that they voted for that face. So that means, do you have any Black friends? People realize that they're not stupid, and they realize that I actually have to be careful because I don't want to get myself in trouble.
Too late. No, I'm joking.
Because I'll say it. I wrote a commercial one time, and it was a Black woman and a candidate. And if you know it, please do not say it out loud. Conrad, do not say it out loud. Arrington, do not say it out loud, please. Because I will log off. But I wrote a commercial, and it's a Black woman and a candidate, and they were standing and talking and walking through the woods, and I was like, Black people don't do that, especially not with white people. We're not walking through the forest with white people. And I really wanted to ask the PR agency, what were you thinking? When was the last time you saw a white woman walking
Melissa,
through?
I'll go with a walk with you in the woods. I'll go on a walk with you, Melissa.
As I would you.
That's the start of a movie.
Right. Where would you see a Black woman walk through the woods with a white man on purpose? And it's not a tour.
Mm. but Marcus,
No, go ahead.
No, I will say though, like you hit some great and excellent points. I would throw in, would you say somewhat of lack of knowledge too plays a part? Because if you look at, a lot of Republican candidates that come to play now are Black conservatives, and for people that are really unknowing, whose views or which side, they're like, they're gonna say, okay, this is a Black. Like look in Kentucky, the governor's race. You got is it Daniel Cameron? I think that's his name. African American. You have here in our own area of Hampton Roads between Senator Rouse and Kevin Adams. I mean, again, would you say the lack of knowledge too plays a small part, not a huge part because we're not stupid, but a small role in for people that are not really knowledgeable when it comes to local office or just politics in general?
The peninsula as well, with Cardoza and Taylor.
Oh, thank you, Nakia. Thank you.
For the record, Adams is up at the moment.
Wow.
Yeah, that happened. That happened in the special too. Same thing happened. And I mean, a lot of the Republicans are going to be up because in your more Republican leaning,
count today's votes first. Yeah.
They do. They count today's votes first, and then they dump in the early votes and absentees.
It's the red and orange.
But so Gavin, you were asking about the lack of knowledge regarding Black conservatives.
Mm-hmm. Well, the lack of knowledge of that really kind of knowing the candidate, because for someone that is really unfamiliar with it, but they do see front and center who's who's a candidate, and they're like, oh, that's a person of color. I'm gonna lean towards at least knowing this candidate a little more than the opposing candidate.
Well, yeah, there's always a fraction of that.
Mm-hmm.
There's always a fraction, but by and large, I mean, with most Republicans, I don't think they realize that we know the difference. Mm-hmm. And like we do look. So if you look at the difference of, for instance, Michael Steele, right, used to be chair of the Republican National Party. He was lieutenant governor of Maryland, but he looks a lot different from Doug Wilder. Much different from, like we notice there's a difference sometimes. Yeah. And I think sometimes Republicans think just because they put a person of color up. Yeah. But that's where, again, it comes back to disrespecting the vote. Both parties do this in a horrible fashion. They literally just reach out to their base. And if you're an independent or a swing voter and you just happen to be paying attention, sure, they might reach out to you too. Or if they have an abundance of cash, then they'll reach out to the other side. But they really just depend on voter turnout, and they really don't care about reaching out. It's not about reaching out. It's just reaching to and speaking to the base. But if independents and swing voters really got involved, we would really, it would be very different. It'd be very different. So yes, it's obvious in some cases, but it does still get a fraction of the minority vote.
I kind of like to piggyback off of something that Marcus said earlier. When we talk about just media, the way that media is crafted, and the expectation that, because a conservative candidate has that one black face in the back of their commercial, that all of a sudden, they're seen as, attractive for minority voters. But then you also have the side of it, and where I guess the thought is that the minority vote is going to be automatic for Democratic candidates, that that level of complacency comes. And with media advertising, you can insert these cliche type things, and it's going to scream, oh my God, this is this deliberate reach out to my African American base. And case in point, this election cycle, the Emily Brewer commercial with Clint, against Clint Jenkins. Now, of course, politicals and those that, have done their homework on the situation, know that the, what was being touted was crazy in itself. But then you look at the commercial that was made in response to that, which I honestly think was the most just trying too hard. I don't understand it. Especially the ending where they were sitting on a couch praying.
I'm with you on that one, Nakia.
Yeah. It was just like, who advised you?
It was very,
who advised you?
It was too commercialized, and that's one thing I think that I get sick and tired of seeing. And I'll use a perfect example outside of like local elections, but like on like the federal, what going on with the presidential race right now. One of the debates, I think I talked about like Tim Scott and Mike Pence at the time. They're too Hallmark for me. They're just too Hallmark. I get tired of hearing like, God bless you and God bless you. Now I'm like, shit. Well, it's
right,
but it's like it gets old. Like it's just,
now.
well, yeah, he's dropped out. I think Scott is still in there, but it's just it gets old seeing the like Marcus had mentioned earlier, the repeating, the stuff that people are familiar with already. It's old. It's really old and tired. People are just tired of seeing the same old stuff. What you were saying, Melissa?
Do you know, I think listening to everybody, what I hear is something that I've been screaming about in politics, which is there is a lack of authenticity.
Absolutely.
There is a lack of authenticity in commercials.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lack of authenticity in mailers. There's a lack of authenticity in the candidates, and that they're only talking and connecting with voters because they want this vote, and like they don't really necessarily plan to follow through with whatever it is they're schmoozing a voter about.
Mm-hmm.
And it is literally a lack of authenticity. And I think that's something that Americans in general are craving.
Mm-hmm.
They want somebody who's authentic. They want somebody who is, gonna drop a cuss word, you know what I mean? And actually, listen, like I eat cereal for dinner sometimes, but that doesn't mean I'm gonna make a bad legislator, right? No.
But alongside that.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Nikia.
No, I was gonna say, but then you have the situations that brought us the clusterfuck that was Donald Trump. And that's what they were, what these voters were looking for. They got behind this jackass who had no problem with threatening people from the dais and all of that. And it was because, unfortunately, he was authentic. He wasn't in a bottle. But then but again, you look at, the next election cycle, what we're craving from Joe Biden was the Joe Biden of 2008. The Joe Biden of 2012 who shut down Paul Ryan. It was a thing of beauty, and I almost jumped off of my couch, with my baby in my hand because I just had Celeste. That's what people were looking for. They were like, oh my God, pizza and beers, and we can watch Joe Biden and Donald Trump go at it, and, WWE pay-per-view, all of that. But, that now it's like, we just want to see somebody authentic. We don't want to see someone who's, just in the centrist bubble of, Hallmark kissing babies, all of that. And, and I think that's, not to, pivot into 2024 right now, but if you look at the candidate right now in the Republican debates who's getting the most attention, it's the young Indian dude.
Yeah, Vivek Ramaswamy.
Yeah,
Ramaswamy.
Exactly. So I mean, he's getting the most attention because he's the one that's coming out of pocket the most. And and that honestly, even though Andrew Yang didn't have a chance in hell, that's the reason why he got the attention that he did, that set up his mayoral run in New York the following election cycle.
For the record, Andrew Yang has donated in Virginia elections this year.
Not shocked.
Yeah, I think it was in the race in Northern Virginia, the three-way, pretty competitive with the independent involved. The independent got at least $600 from Andrew Yang.
Wow. And that's also like, I mean, Conrad, now there's starting to be a lot of attention to third parties. I mean, we've had a few third party candidates in there. I know you've had you had a full show with all third party candidates. I remember watching, and I was actually looking at, I don't know how fresh it is right now at the moment, but the Kelly Fowler and Karslake race. Well, I see, Olenek has about 4%, so it's not a chance. He's looking like he's going to take that dub. But there are people that what was that, Melissa?
Looking close.
It is. It's very close. It's very close.
Yeah, and I know that there was some polling that Karslake had made some gains on that, so I'm definitely going to be watching that real close.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think with the third party, it all ties into that authenticity. People were getting tired of seeing the two-party system, which, I mean, that's kind of like another show, I guess, because I know that's always a discussed conversation. Like, is the two-party system really great for the country and this and the other?
No, the duopoly needs to go.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, all this authenticity is a bit loaded because, we would like to see someone be honest in who they are, but they also got to be, in a sense, likable. I guess is a fault in Trump is that somehow they came off likable, and that still got a lot of people to like him. And if we go back to Virginia, when it was Youngkin versus Terry McAuliffe, he didn't come off as likable as Youngkin did. And when you look at both of them and how sort of lofty they are compared to the rest of us down here, that probably neither of them are really that honest with who they are as a politician. But in terms of the personality, Youngkin's won out. So if you're looking ahead, you got to look at personalities that are in their communities doing a lot of stuff. For instance, the Newport News, Tiffany Boyle. That could be something going forward. But beyond that, it's always true that you're going to have to look for the best in terms of honest and personality mix.
Agreed. Yeah.
Very-
Youngkin was very, you know, I hear a lot of people say, oh, he's such a nice guy. And I'm like, well, I'm okay. I believe you. He was nice to your face. But, you know, I worked for Wall Street for 14 years. And one thing I do know is that you don't become the co-CEO of the second largest private equity firm in the world because you're a nice guy.
Absolutely.
Oh,
I think it's the vest. I think it's the vest that makes him look nice. I don't know. That's just me. Maybe it's the vest.
I mean, he just listen, those wasps in my district, he's like the wasp, like wrangler. Like he's like the Pied Piper for wasps.
So
I love you, Melissa. Love you.
I just say all the things that I can say because of this. So yes.
Well, guys, what about another conversation that will probably be brought up? I mean, we have I want to say we have a lot of new candidates in these races, but
We do.
we do have a lot. Okay, term limits, right? Term limits. That's a a question going around. You know, people, how many years they should really hold that position. You know, it's just it's a lot of old timers right now. I mean, again, and I'm speaking at the young people are like, look, we tired of seeing old folks in there, but at the end of the day, I do believe in wisdom as well. You know, more experience, but Conrad mentioned like Tiffany Boyle. I mean, come on, she's like an up and coming force in the area. We see current Senator Aaron Rouse doing great stuff. Him and his wife, who's a councilwoman, you see them doing great stuff. Can definitely see them growing. Like, what's your take on term limits?
Popular, but never going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think like I'm very torn on term limits for a couple different reasons. Like I want term limits in some aspects, but I also value, well, first of all, like I firmly believe that results of bills don't get seen until 2 or 3 years down the road. And so when you spend a lot of time as a legislator and you're trying to get bills through, and I just feel like the cycle of a legislator, because we have so much bureaucratic red tape, it's very difficult, to move things on. So it's like, I worry about how much we can get done through, like, if there are term limits on some of these politicians. And I guess, like, for me, I do value a legislator that has been around and has seen some things and has working relationships with people if they're authentic. But I also have a problem with politicians and the way how they have the sycophancy, really, like a lot of these people just following around and fawning all over them. And then, they end up continuing to be reelected, and people think that they're doing good work, but really when you make the report card, they're really not doing good work. And so we have to have like, everybody can't be new, everybody can't be old. There's got to be a nice mix, but I do kind of struggle with the 4-year gubernatorial. Like, there's no incentive to me for a governor to actually run our state, aside from aspiring for higher political office, when they're only allowed to do a 4-year term. But I also am like, I don't know if I want to give another option either, because I also see benefits for them only having a 4-year term. What do you guys think?
I think so when you have the U.S. Senate having 6 years, I think they should at least have the chance to be reelected, but I think 12 years is plenty. So I would be fine if we capped Congress at 6 elections. That gives them 12 years, right? Or change them to have 3 years so they can get a break and not have to run and raise as much money. Not to say that wouldn't happen, but I think 12 years would be plenty.
Don't say that too loud. Don't say that too loud, because the people in CD3 coronary. I'm sorry.
How long is Bobby stopping in there?
I
was 9. I am 43.
This is common knowledge, and he knows. So
I didn't know.
I ran an opponent, God rest his soul, against Bobby Scott several years ago. And one of the talking points that we had, and this guy, he was a retired police detective, Marty Williams, a really good guy. He was a Republican. And I watched him go from a standard conservative, the Constitution says this kind of person and I remember having a conversation. I watched his face and his countenance change as he started to realize and learn that compassion could be a part of how you legislate. And that's very rare. But we came up with some good ideas in that race. And as far as how long the gentleman that you spoke of has been there, we had a few talking points that got me in trouble, to the point that, so Arrington, you asked me when you had me on before, one of the biggest reasons why I am unfortunately not welcomed to go back and forth between the parties like I used to. One of the talking points I gave Marty Williams was, would you vote for someone who's been in office since Jimmy Carter was president of the United States?
Wow.
And that's how people responded. And this was back in 2016. But it's a valid question. Would you vote for someone who's been in office since Jimmy Carter was there? And you kind of stop and think, and you're like, first of all, today people be like, Jimmy Carter. I remember hearing about that in class, right?
Yep.
That's a great, Marcus. That's a great way to reframe. Like, talk about good messaging, Marcus. That right there.
10 points for Marcus. 10 points for Marcus.
That's right. 10 points for Marcus. Like, learning how to reframe something to make someone go, what?
Yeah. And I appreciate that. But that question got a lot of people mad at me. That question got a lot of people mad.
That in my back pocket. That's in my back pocket right now. Thank you, Marcus. I love that.
And it was effective to the point that I heard through another client that that the congressman would ask people. He said, "Oh, my opponent is saying, that I've been in office since Jimmy Carter's president, but that's a track record, and he went around talking about that he had been around since Jimmy Carter was president. Coincidentally, Marty was the top performing challenger Bobby Scott has ever had. So I'm proud of that. However, it got a lot of people mad at me. A lot of people. When people hear, they're like, "That was you who did that." But no, so I think
like, it was.
I mean, it's funny, but when I tell you, people get mad at me because it's like, again, with term limits, and for a lot of these long-term incumbents, it would really be simple and I will say easy to take them out. It's just no one has tried before. Because I bet you, any one of us, well, any one of y'all, I don't know about me, but Conrad, Melissa, Arrington, all four of you could really probably challenge some of the long-term incumbents. It's really a simple matter of reminding and really are educating the voters that what we think a lot of these incumbents have done, they haven't done. So if you have a young Democrat, maybe a school board member running against a senior power member, and say, "Hey, we want to talk about this issue," and everyone's going to say, "You know what? Well, the congressman or whoever's been working on that for a long time," and when you can pull up the fact that they have never submitted a bill of that caliber, now there's blood in the water. I wouldn't recommend that because it would get harsh, but there's a lot of things that we assume some of these long-term incumbents have done, and they haven't. There's a lot of good government solutions that people need, that long-term incumbents have just overlooked. Not to say that hasn't been of value, but there's a lot they've overlooked in a long time.
But you said the key word, power, man. I mean, for just my personal opinion, when I see a lot of seniority in office, I'm thinking like, okay, the reason why not only do they held their seat because they're probably, you know, just well respected by their community, but even if, like you mentioned, not a lot has been made while they're in office, power, man. I mean, it's like it's so much money being involved in people that have been in office for a long time. Not making any accusations, but that's just my big common theory when it comes to if someone's been in office for quite a long time, like, all right, okay. Someone made some, you know, some promises behind closed doors. I mean, that's just me. But
and then you also look at the company that they keep, because you know, I will gladly go on the record that some of the company that the dear congressman keeps, specifically one I look at as like Lucifer, and like she's Satan, and but a lot of people don't they don't look at the big picture of it all, and in that it stops individuals from entering the race to put forth a successful primary or to put forward a primary at all.
Right. Well, I mean, the parties do that themselves. I mean, the parties, they have their candidate, and then the parties make it very difficult for anyone else to primary unless you've whipped up that support behind the scenes.
We saw that a lot in this cycle.
what was that, Conrad?
I said we saw that a lot in this cycle. The delegate race that I was around and saw the most in the primary was one that's very close as of right now, the HD 96 race, because that primary suddenly became stacked with 4 very prominent Democrats. And then we saw promises made and money go that suddenly could change a promise. And somehow we still get who we have tonight. Money could sway some voters if they see it in time.
You're absolutely right. I'm looking at I see a couple of elections that's already been called. I don't know if we can kind of pull that up. Well, Cliff Hayes, they're calling it for him. Let's see. It looks like what delegate district 91, 65%. So see him again. Bonita Anthony.
Yep,
delegate. They called it for her. Delegate district 92. Jackie Hope Glass in the 93rd district. Let's see.
I can't believe the HRBC endorsed against her. Oh man!
Listen.
Talk about it. No.
I have some notes because I was planning on making a show about their endorsement process. But
anyone who comes for Jackie comes for me, and I'm gonna flip it around and come back for you. Don't be coming for Jackie Glass.
I will say this about Jackie Glass proudly, and I've told Jackie Glass this to her face. I never want any client I have to have to run against Jackie Glass.
That's right. Listen,
Jackie is authentic. She is the real deal. She is brilliant, whether you like her or not. Whether you agree with her or not, her heart is in the right place. Her head is in the right place. And I've had some really good candidates. One of the other rising stars that we haven't talked about, but I have before, Brandon Hutchins. And Brandon is wonderful. I will be honest and say I'm the first one to work with Brandon in 2019. I prefer 2019 Brandon to 2023 Brandon, but but I love him anyway, and I've told him that. But even Brandon Hutchins at his best, I wouldn't want to go against Jackie Glass, and that's a fair fight because Brandon is phenomenal at his best.
He's an amazing. He works hard.
Yes, he does.
Brandon works hard, but Jackie works so hard. I worked at a precinct for her today. I was thrown into a signal group with her volunteers. They are on it. She is so organized. I was so impressed. And I mean, I'm a huge fan of Jackie's, and that's why I went to Norfolk to work a precinct, because she's that great. And she is authentic. And like for me, Jackie represents every bit of what a candidate that I want to hear. Like she certified doer, she communicates, she does community action stuff. She gets people involved civically, and she promotes civic engagement, and she does it so beautifully. And it almost seems effortless, although I know she works very, very hard, but it's like somebody who works very hard, but she makes things seem effortless. And
very transparent too. She's always on her page showing videos about stuff. I've commented on them while she's doing it. When you want to think of what a politician should be, you have thought of Jackie Glass.
I couldn't agree more with you, Conrad, because for me, being a Chesapeake resident, I mean, I probably know more delegates out of the majority Norfolk than Chesapeake. I'll just be honest, because I never met Jackie, but I do see a lot of great work that she's doing. And again, being that I'm on the other side, of town, it's like, okay, the fact of the matter is you're bringing so much attention where it's like, okay, I see what you're doing. That says something in my opinion, because ask me if I can tell you what a lot of delegates out of Chesapeake is. Well, besides Delegate Hayes, I'm, very, very familiar with him. But again, Jackie, she's on one and very involved everywhere. And I think, like Conrad said, that's what when you think of a candidate or just a community leader, not even like a politician, but a community leader, she's definitely one of them. So yeah, Jackie Hope Glass has that one. District 94, I think they're calling it too.
Yeah, Phil Hernandez, which is good, because we were worried about that. There's been a lot of work put into that race, and Phil winning that race is great because they worked real hard for that race.
Also,
Ocean View for the win. Ocean View for the win.
Kelly might be eking it out.
Yeah, they haven't called that one yet. That's
last I checked, both of the Jenkins races have both Jenkins candidates trailing closely.
Okay, and we've got.
I will go ahead and call the Lucas versus Goodwin race.
That was a funny one, Marcus. I
Saw
got
that one. Saw that one coming.
Yeah, well, it's sad because so I worked with Tony for a little while, and Tony would have had a good shot. Tony had a good story. Not a good shot. He would have had a shot. And he has a really compelling, good story. I think he was just scared to tell it. And and there were a lot of people who were hopeful that he would take the shot. Because a lot of Democrats wanted revenge, on behalf of Lionel Spruill. Not saying Lionel did, but a lot of people felt some type of way that Lionel lost and that it turned as nasty as it did. So, but anyway, I'll go ahead and call that race.
I am so happy for the record that Lionel Spruill didn't win. I'm going to tell you right now, dancing that Lionel Spruill did not win. Hell yeah! Like nope. I even convinced. I'm pretty sure. I'm hoping I did. I tried to convince his own nephew to vote against him, and he was like, "Sounds good to me."
Not family. God dang, Melissa. That's
cosign.
Ruthless.
Cosign. Cosign.
Nope, not doing it.
See, I'm never getting on y'all bad side. See, I'm gonna always stay on y'all good side. That's
if you don't mind.
One of these days, y'all gonna know that women are just running, like we're ready to run the world, y'all.
Hey, I'm
Cosign.
We're gonna say Conrad.
Yeah, we were very close to being able to get Mr. Tavoris Marks to come on the show. He's a little busy, but I asked if he could text me some information on his neck of the woods, which is more toward Hopewell and in like the Chesterfield area. And his comment was just that I think that the Dems will hold the Senate and regain the House. Looks like Coyner is going to beat out Miller Pitts here in the 75th, and Aaron is a lock for the Senate. Deborah Gardner may pull off an upset. So I wanted to give his thoughts on the matter too while I had a chance.
Good stuff. I'm looking at the District 8. Let's see, delegate race District 84 with Nadarius Clark. That's very close. That hasn't been called at the moment, but that's pretty tight. So I know, keep an eye on that one. I was
It was
a
another
fan of
situation where the HRBC endorsed against a black candidate.
Was it? Look, I'm gonna save it for your show. Kyle.
Yeah.
I'm gonna save it for your show.
I won't. The HRBC.
Bring it. Let's go.
Let's do
I
it.
will.
Talk about it. Talk about it, Nakia. Come on.
I will. So the HRBC, while they tried to, okay, I'm gonna just back this all the way up. When the with Youngkin and his receipt of the endorsement of the HRBC, I have to call stupid when stupid does. The DPVA made the decision to give weight to an organization that doesn't have over 300 voting members and basically gave them credibility for no damn reason. Like, literally, the response when the media came to anybody in the DPVA or in the Virginia Black Legislative Caucus, on the endorsement of Glenn Youngkin from the HRBC could have been, who? And it would have killed it. But, but having every black legislator in Hampton Roads standing in front of the fountain in Virginia Beach Town Center talking about, all of these things, gave them credibility when it was counterproductive.
And they created an organization too, the Greater Hampton Roads Black Democrats, or whatever that was. They didn't need to do that.
Well, no, they did exist before. They did exist before Youngkin. The Greater Hampton Roads Black Democrats did exist before Youngkin, but the HRBC was given an ass ton of credibility when, they didn't have it before then at all. And, as a member of the HRBC, when that happened, I can talk about that after that endorsement of Youngkin, what was it, 8 hours, Conrad, that we were on a conference call?
It was pretty
questioning. Yeah, it was I know it was until like 3 a.m.
Wow. And
I think it started at 8, where we were asking questions about the endorsement process and about the HRBC's nonprofit status and all of those things. But now it's like, okay, because of what happened, with the Youngkin election, now people are actually paying attention to what the HRBC is doing. And, alongside that, what I found really interesting was that in that same election, AC Cardoza put up a big electronic billboard as you left the South Side to come into the peninsula with the HRBC's logo, advertising his delegate race, saying endorsed by the Hampton Roads Black Caucus, and was a thing of beauty. Look, I gotta give credit where credit's due. And, but because of that, because of the clusterfuck that was the Virginia Black Legislative Caucus and their response to the HRBC endorsements of that year, now this animal is there that is the HRBC of today?
I'm just looking at some of their on VPAP receipts that they have been given this year, and I could look at, say, $1,000 from Spirit of Virginia, which is Glenn Youngkin, and that was $500 in September twice. Let's see who else I might be able to observe. Barry Knight gave them $1,350. John Sicca, Jairus Taylor, Glenn Davis, and Farrell's had a Bill DeSteff, Jen Higgins.
So they're paying for an endorsement is pretty much what they
not outright, but it goes to that organization.
Yes, and can we just talk about like politics is like the number one way to like launder money? I look at political donations as like it's just laundering money. Like the campaigns are just laundering money for each other, right? And then into, like you said, like, oh, well, if you donate to the caucus, then, we'll give you an endorsement. Like, I don't understand how people don't see that.
What about the genius in what is it in New Jersey with the gold bars and what was the senator
Bob
out there?
Bob
Wait, Santos?
No.
Bob Melendez.
Bob Menendez.
Oh, Bob Menendez. The Democrat. Yeah.
Freaking gold bars. I mean, like, dude, I'm short on cash, but hey, I got a gold bar. Like, this really, dude. So I'm just saying it kind of ties into, again, donations, right? I mean, why do you have that?
Yeah, George Santos was buying, like, he was using his like donors' credit cards and like in buying clothing and stuff. Like, again, the safest place for a criminal is in political office, y'all.
Yeah.
Well, Santos is just a hot mess. I mean, if we have to say for
the hottest of messes, yeah.
The hottest of messes, comrade.
Well, below Donald Trump, like 91 indictments later, Donald Trump.
Yeah, but the scary thing is, I mean, it's controversy sells nowadays in politics. I mean, it obviously is not hurting his campaign, and that's the. I feel as though, and that's almost like another topic. We're talking about campaign ads, how trashy the campaign ads gets closer towards election season because controversy sells. And so it's
what would help that? What? Negative campaigning has been proven. Ranked choice voting has been proven to reduce negative campaigning because you need to be ranked, right? So you have an incentive to actually want to, one, it gets rid of the duopoly, right? And so we can open up to more parties, more political parties, and that way we can have more coalitions. And I think that's like that's what American politics is missing is coalitions of groups and looking at it as a coalition instead of as people who are like progressives. The Democrats are just so pissed all the time at progressives, right? They stop, when they speak up, right? The Democrats are like, shut up. We don't want to hear you. Same thing with MAGA with Republicans, right? Moderate Republicans, they may want to negotiate. They want to compromise. They understand that they have to work with Democrats, but you've got the MAGA extremists like Marjorie Three Toes and, Lauren Blueberry and stuff like these.
Oh, that's a good one. That's actually a good.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Doing, So I mean, I don't know. We just, yeah.
I love
y'all. I'm over here looking back at some of these elections, and then I'm gonna move on kind of like in some of the Senate races. But I'm looking at the Mike Figgins and Karen Greenhall one that is extremely close right now. Greenhall has the lead.
That's the type of race that I really hope that the early voting comes back over the top and helps out Mike. But
and Mike worked really hard. Like I will say, like Mike worked very hard. It will be a well-deserved win. And I mean, we're talking like voters. I'm going to shame people. Like that woman runs crisis pregnancy centers, like, or she has something to do with like crisis pregnancy centers. You know what I mean? Like this, like for me, Karen Greenhall is just a no. And I'm so thankful that like Mike really put it all. I feel like he's leaving it all on the table.
Donated $250 toward the HRBC, by the way, and picked up their endorsement over Beckins. So,
but let's talk about money. If we're talking
Bingo.
about money and candidates who had money, I mean, the writing was on the wall that, you know, if you were Aaron Rouse, Don Scott, and Mike Fagan, then you were sitting pretty with your financials.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, they were fundraising in my district several fundraisers in my district they didn't even invite some of those fundraisers. They didn't even invite like the candidate of the district. Money is a huge problem.
If I'm looking at this right, he raised $3.255 million. Michael did, and Karen only did 2.78.
Can we just stop and talk about $3 million, y'all?
And the position pays less
For
than
a
$20,000.
delegate race.
For a delegate race. I mean, Marcus, you do political consulting, so I understand this like affects, like when we talk about like money and stuff like that, you know, I'm sure it might make your butthole pucker up a little bit because like that, you know, when you do political consulting, I mean, money is obviously makes the world go around, right? But I mean, aren't we getting a little out of control with fundraising and the necessities of fundraising in politics?
The bulk of that money doesn't come to me. I'm probably one of the.
I know. Yes.
Right.
I know. I'm just saying, like in a political consulting world, sure, you know that candidates need money in order for that, but right.
So yes and no. So I'm used to working for candidates and clients, whether they're businesses, athletes, politicians. I'm used to having clients who usually don't have much of a budget or lie and say they don't have much of a budget. And again, it goes back to two things. We already know the voting public is too busy to really pay attention. They're really too busy. It's still their responsibility. It's our responsibility as voters to pay attention. But when you have a candidate who doesn't want to take the time to pay attention to the voters either, that's why they're so expensive. The money really is really insulting when you think about it. Yeah, you're right. $3 million. That's horrible.
Insulting is such a great word.
Yeah, and so if for candidates who want to do it right, and here's the worst part about it, the bulk of that money doesn't even come from regular people. Now, yes, a lot of it does. But when a candidate can prove they can raise $50, $75, $100,000 on their own, then the PACs from across the country start to pour in, and it's just ungodly, you know. Yeah. So it's really, you know, and out of all of the political, out of the significant political consultants here, I'll probably say I beat most of them. But even to see the amount of money that they charge themselves, that's when you know that people don't care. You know, your staff does not need to be paid $5,000 to run a city race. I don't care if you're running for mayor or not. You don't need to be paid $3,000 for a delegate race. You don't. Now, do they pay that much? Yeah. Have I deposited the checks? Yes. However, it's not necessary.
Right.
It really isn't.
Well, Marcus, but I gotta ask though. So, say if Mike had a $3,000 budget, would you see his race being just as close and as popular as it right now compared to $3 million now?
Well, I mean, now if his and this is why.
And this is no disrespect to Mike, but I'm just saying, you know, he's trying to win. I'm bringing out all, you know, not guns blazing, but you know what I mean.
I don't know if it's as big as it used to be, but I remember in college they were talking about clean elections and limiting, you know, corporate money and having publicly funded campaigns or limits on how much money people could give. So now if it was fair across the board, you know, and his opponent couldn't raise but so much, that's a different story. But no, of course, because you can raise that kind of money and because your opposition will raise that kind of money, you're almost obligated to. But again, if you're not going to pay attention, then you've got to pay for the race. You know, if you had a candidate who was willing to, again, like I said, actually pay attention to the. I almost wanted to give one of my recent ideas for a client. For instance, I do a lot when it comes to minority businesses and stuff like that, right? So if you were, one of the things you guys brought up earlier, Tiffany Boyle, right? Commissioner of Revenue in Newport News. So let's say you are the city treasurer, the commissioner, school board, mayor, whatever, right? If you're currently sitting in office, or even if you're on a board that's relevant, maybe you're part of the Asian Business Association, right? Asian Business Association or anything like that, Hispanic Chamber. And if you're trying to reach out, one of the things we did in Tiffany's office, I know I'm rambling, bear with me, was we realized in Newport News, there's a large Korean American constituency, right? A lot of Korean restaurants, Korean business owners. And the tax code, my God, I don't know if you've ever tried to read it, but it's harder than the Old Testament, right? It really, it's more complicated than the Bible in the back of the pew in church. It is really, really tough. And it's written in today's English. Now imagine being a Korean American and you have the choice between trying to get the food out to the table for your customers and trying to read this impossible document. So one of the things we started doing in Tiffany's office was translating that stuff into Korean and into Spanish and into American Sign Language. You know how much it cost? We had to pay a translator, but we used the city media department to record it. Come on. This is stuff that if people really cared, if a mayor is running and wants to convince the Hispanic population that they care, get your stuff translated into Spanish. Get the city's media department to do something. It does not always take $5,000 to get a mailer translated. Get your actual those cuts, not gonna cuts, but get your actual stuff translated in a way that it can easily be. Elections cost as much as they do because people won't take the time. If you don't pay attention, you have to pay for the race.
It's very accurate. Very accurate.
And I mean, I concur with what Marcus is saying. A lot of times, and especially if you look at honestly how just lazy some of these candidates are. A lot of times you don't even have candidates who have complete websites. Or just they think that their bread and butter is to put some cliche photographs, link their anecdote at blue when red accounts all over the website, and then all is right with the world. But I think that especially with the younger demographic of voters becoming more interested in elections, they're looking for things like that. They're looking to be able to go to a social media page. They're looking to be able to go to a website. They want to be able to find out what these candidates stand for. And, I don't think that we've, crossed that threshold yet, but eventually the bullshit of right now is going to morph into just needing to be more than what it is.
I have a perfect example. May I interject here? Y'all, the Anderson-Batten race is tied 78-12. Both of them have 7,812 votes. Let me tell you about Jessica Anderson. Crazy mother.
Jess. Love her.
Crazy mother runner. That is who Jessica Anderson is. I knew Jessica as Crazy Mother Runner. And then she said she was going to run for office. And we connected before she even filed to run. She's an influencer. She's a content creator on TikTok. That's how we met, as content creators on TikTok. And she is amazing. And you want to talk about for one, she's put the work in. She's knocked on thousands and thousands of doors. But her social media presence is authentic and engaging and different from what I see with every other cookie cutter establishment politician, right? Doesn't matter what party you're with, right? I mean, I still think that, Republicans commercials are so much worse than Democrats, even though Democrats commercials are so cookie cutter and bland. It's whatever. But she is that, she has appeal on several different levels. And this is somebody that she's not raised nearly as much money, if I'm not mistaken. I'd have to check her VPAP again, but I don't think she's raised nearly as much money as Amanda Batten has.
Look at me.
And Melissa,
give me a second to look that up.
I was about to say, can you remind the folks which race is that?
I'm sorry. That's HD 70, House District 71. That's James City County, Williamsburg. It's House District 71. It's just the incumbent is the Republican, Amanda Batten.
Yep.
Anderson got about 373,000 and Batten got 677,000.
Yeah. I'm on. What did you say? Say that again.
Yeah, I'm looking at as the most recent update here on VPAP, and Amanda Batten, who, by the way, is of pretty high ups in the Republican standing.
Yeah.
Still only raised about 677,000. And then Jessica Anderson got 373.
Yeah, half. Right. Half.
Yeah.
Now, I just got some updates. It flipped. I mean, which is going to happen because there's still precincts out and 13,000 early votes left. But I just got a flip and they were tied. And now Amanda has come out on top, which actually means we're probably going to have possibly updated numbers for some other races like in Hampton Roads. Because that literally changed right in front of my eyes. So it was wow.
So,
I literally just sent Chess. Oh, I'm sorry.
You're probably going to follow more on specific to the Anderson race. This is important, but I was going to point out that I remember how much money that there are local candidates such as Bill DeSteff who has donated to other people who are running in other state Senate candidates. I imagine other big time candidates are doing that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh.
I would have expected Batten and Anderson to have more money into it for some reason, but.
And guys, I didn't mean to kind of go a little off the rail. I know we've been talking mostly what's going on in Hampton Roads, and I think we should be getting I don't know if Monica Hutchinson might be coming on. I know she was busy throughout the night, but we were talking in our group chat about a race happening in the Henrico County area with Susanna Gibson, and I gotta talk about it because I know we've talked about a lot of races, and in my opinion, it will be a shocker if she does win.
Oh, you think?
Yeah, but it's almost tied.
So why do you think? Because of what happened? Because of
yes, because I feel as though for one, that's never going to go away. Even
people don't care. People don't care. People don't care. I'm telling you, people don't care.
And look,
Donald Trump said he grabs women by the.
That is true. Well, again, controversy succeeds though.
Okay.
Controversy wins, but
and everybody saw that they literally committed a crime by sharing revenge porn.
Yeah.
And also women are getting real tired, y'all. Real tired.
But Melissa, if it was on a live chat and you're about to say, hey, next year I'm gonna run for office. Are you really? I'm just saying, it's cutthroat regardless in politics, and not saying, I want this lady to suffer through her. I mean, again, that what she did does not describe what she can do for her community. It does not describe the great work she can do for her community.
100%.
I just think, I don't know.
I mean, here's the thing. I would not. So, what I'll say about this is a couple years ago, like I had no idea what was going on in politics. I mean, I even like in 2020, I didn't even know who our governor was. Like, I'm just very honest with that. I have been very hyper focused on politics really since like 2020, and I started in 2019 on a federal level, and then kind of started getting into state in 2020. And if you had asked me, like, I mean, I still say I'm not going to run for office because I'm not like, I don't think I have the tolerance for office. But I guess what I'm saying is that it's not unreasonable for somebody to be living their life, right, in a consensual relationship and partnership, okay, and participating consensually with their partner, whatever they want to do, and then like get involved in politics, and next thing you know that they want to run for office, and they're not putting like there are some people who are like, yes, I'm going to live my life like I'm going to run for public office, and then there's the rest of us, right? So
I think it go. Oh, no,
no, go ahead. No,
I was gonna say, I think it goes back to like the corny marketing strategy, right? So she markets it as, hey, I'm a nurse practitioner, mother, wife, boom. Then again, going into politics, they're gonna try and dig up something about you because they're not, okay, this commercial is not telling all about, which, I mean, again, saying you're a wife, which she is, because it was with her husband.
Woman. Right. And she's also, so notice how we in politics and society, we go, I'm a nurse practitioner. My job is my identity first. Then I'm a wife. Then I'm a mother, which are all identities that are attributed to something to do with men. Right. And then lastly, we say she's a woman. So how I look at that whole thing with her husband, I look at that as like something she's doing with her husband as a woman. You see what I'm saying? And so I think that that's her own identity as a woman, like, is part of that. But
Do you mind if I interject?
Go ahead.
This is more national news, but Ohio just voted to establish a right to abortion in its state constitution.
Yes. Hold on, wait, and let me also enter this in. Daniel Cameron got his ass beat. Andy Bashir won a second term.
Yes.
Thank you for our reporters keeping it locked, always keeping it locked. We appreciate it. But
I appreciate what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. I think like we have a narrative in this country of the way we talk about women, and especially like in politics. And I just like, I'm going to work pretty hard to like reframe that into not, we're not just these little talking points that the political heads want us to put on our little palm cards. Do you know what I mean? As women.
Yeah, I'm actually going to piggyback off of what you just said, Melissa. It is sickening the way that the expectation is that women deliver the votes, but that when we're the candidates that we have to be these pristine, unflawed,
talk about that purity culture. Talk about it.
Yeah, purity culture. It's ridiculous. And I guess I'm going to speak on this from a personal perspective. I had no fucking intention in running for office last cycle. Zero. And when people are like, oh, well, if you're going to do that, then you need to scrub your social media. You need to not curse. You need to put as many pictures out there of you with your husband and your children and these beautiful things. I was like, fuck that. I was Nakia far before I was a candidate for school board. And, even in that, you know, I was the only woman in my race that was used against me. But I think that the people showed that the, you know, the bullshit that surrounds that isn't realistic either. And, you know, rather than being talked out of running for office and talked out of putting yourself out there and, you know, trying to, you know, shame a woman for doing what adults do and expecting it to stay private. You know, I just refuse to give that any noise, you know,
Yeah.
and because it's worthless. It is just diminishing of women, and it targets women of color more than any demographic with this bullshit purity culture.
Right. Yeah. They're only 24 votes apart right now, by the way, y'all. Like looking at the latest update.
I couldn't agree more with the both of you saying. I just think that, for one, I don't think their intention was to diminish a female in general. And again, it's probably weird saying it for me because I'm a guy, but I'm just saying the fact is, if a candidate comes out, hey, I'm an OnlyFans star, right? Let's just use that as an example because allegedly they received tips during their live sex chat. I'm just saying they received tips. So
how do you know this?
You said what?
How do you know all this?
I read, sir. Don't try and call me out. I read, sir. I read. Don't go there, Marcus. Don't go there. I mean, I was bored one night. No, I'm joking. But just trying. I mean, again, just playing devil's advocate though. If an OnlyFans model comes out and says, "Hey, look, I'm running for office," right? Would the Democratic Party give as much noise for this candidate like they are, or as much support to this candidate, you know, in general? I just feel as though, being that so much is at stake for like getting that dub for the Democratic Party, of course they want to do all they can. And again, like I mentioned earlier, it will not separate the good work that she can do for her community and that she can bring to the table. Not at all. I just think, I don't know. I feel like for voters, it's just a bit like, oh, even for Democratic voters, it's like, whoa, wait a minute. If I want this person to lead, and then on top of that too, Melissa, you know, mothers out there saying, hey, look, I want our daughters to look up to some of these figures that are leading the world, or leading our community. They say, let me tell you about this lady, yada yada yada. She's doing great things. Oh, but you might catch, you know, her doing some Kim Kardashian acts, right? You know, it was leaked. But I mean, and again, I'm not trying to make this an argument. It's just I cannot just not take that out of my head. Like the fact that she's.
I appreciate your feedback. I think the opposite spectrum of that is, why is that what we center on? Right.
Okay.
Why is that what we said? Especially if you say she does good work as a legislator, but there's this thing. And we don't do that with men.
Well, DeSantis, I'm just saying, even though
Santos is like an absolute criminal, and he's a total fraud. That's totally different. Like, we're talking about using something that two consenting adults are doing.
Well,
right?
what's the senator out in Northern Virginia, which he is currently still a senator? Is it Morrissey? Joe Morrissey?
Oh, he's in Richmond.
I don't think he's in anymore though.
Yeah,
no, he's gone.
Okay.
Well, I mean, he's technically a senator until the end of the year, I think. I mean, technically, like he lost his primary, right, Marcus? Like,
yeah, Latrice Ayer took his seat.
Yeah, but legit, yeah,
and she's dominating her race right now.
Yeah, I think that this goes back to what I call the polite right. Okay, we have this habit of everything needs to be so polite. I think that's why we've gotten where we are today in politics. Even people not,
Good point.
it's this passive aggressive, and then in politics specifically aggressive, and then especially against a woman that is very much a significant threat. Like if they hadn't pulled this out on her, like they absolutely would have lost. At least maybe they can convince some voters to not vote for her because, oh my God, she like did this. But at the end of the day, like I want somebody who is going to go in office and do the job. I would wholeheartedly disagree with you that it wasn't done because she's a woman. It was wholeheartedly done, in my opinion, because she's a woman, right? If a man had done this and a man in the Republican Party had done this, like it would be like, hey, bro, good job. Like, I'm so glad we found that out about you. Nobody really cares. Like I can't get on board with like any shaming of women because that's what we have been subjected to for so long. I mean, need I remind y'all on this panel that we didn't have credit cards until 1973, I believe it was.
We couldn't have credit scores until 89.
We couldn't have checking accounts so that's not that long ago.
True.
So we're still in a culture of where when people want to take women down a notch or take women down out of a potential powerful position, they're going to use something to shame them. And in America, that is almost always going to be tied to sex. I'm
going to agree with all of that. The other thing I'll add to it is I think when it comes to why it's easier to shame women than it is men. And my first female client, we drove each other crazy, was Shannon Kane on Virginia Beach City Council. And but she won.
I know Shannon.
Yeah, she's great. And what I learned real quick with Shannon, and I really had never thought of it before. She has one son and a husband, which basically is two kids. And she ran a business, and she was appointed to city council at first, and then she had to run and all that. So not only does she have to maintain her household, right, and she has a business, and she got to again take care of her husband, and she has and be a mom, right? And she at the time was on city council, and she had to run, which means, if we were out at a campaign event at 4:00, she was still, I won't say expecting, I'm sure, because her husband was very gracious, but by all accounts and purposes, most people would still expect dinner to still be ready at 8:00. And even still, or I knew she still had to get home to help her son with homework. I never thought, when I worked with Glenn Davis, way long time ago. Way long time ago. On Saturday mornings, we would have breakfast, the Republican breakfast, and we would get in the car and just go. We would just be gone all day, totally different from a man doing it and a woman doing it. But when it comes to the parties on both sides and expecting, or really requiring, not expecting, expecting and requiring the candidate to fit into the agenda of the party. Again, these parties do not part with whatever the top says. It is straight down. The same people do the palm cards, the same people do the commercials, the same people design the websites. There is very, very, very little deviation unless you have the money where you can stand out and do your own thing. And even then, if you have your own money and can stand out and can do your own thing, you are expected to help the others. Why? But that means you fit the agenda. So when a woman who has done something on OnlyFans, and I'll be honest, I don't think I would mind having an OnlyFans candidate. I think it would be fun. But
all right, Mark. No.
I didn't. Wait a minute. That's a different. I didn't like that.
I'm gonna leave that one alone.
It would be a challenge. But here's the funny thing. Can you imagine? In the same way that if she was a musical talent, right, and that's where she got her money and her fame from, or choose OnlyFans with, in both accounts, music or OnlyFans. If you have 150 or 500,000 followers, right, and you've got your own money and all of that, you got your own followers. You don't need the agenda or the establishment. So if they have to get you in line, men, we're much more likely to come into alignment if somebody says, now listen, Arrington, if you want this state Senate seat, and we're going to give you this $500,000 check, right? Because we as men are usually like, all right, we can get it done, and this is what's needed. Bam. You know, we take the order and we keep on moving. Right.
You're used to be told what to do by women.
Right.
But then on
Look,
the
hey,
flip
not so
side,
loud, guys. My wife's in the background. She said, keep it down. She said, keep it down. No,
Marcus.
but then on the flip side, if you're a woman, what comes first? Your family, your children, all these other things. Your person. You know, I've never been a woman. I don't know, but I'm saying, you know, but your household and what you care about and what you love comes first, not the party agenda.
That's right.
You know, and the goal.
Family. Sometimes it's your own guilt, right? Like,
right.
I feel guilty. Like my kids are grown and out of the house. I feel guilty for sitting here tonight, not at home because my husband's at home. Like, I mean, not totally guilty, but kind of like, you know, I mean, here I am at a party. I mean, we're sitting on a computer, but also at a party behind me in the room behind me. You know, yeah, Marcus, like that's 100%. So then you have the expectation of the other spouse. Like, or your spouse or your kids. I mean, and then you have the self guilt that you put on your, you know what I mean? That we do as women. So 100%.
And then when you try to, you know, I don't want to say do it all, but when you try to adapt, you know, to be able to do the things that are election focused.
Take a shower.
Marcus, you gotta mute yourself.
Sorry, for being a dad.
Love that. I love that.
Perfect timing. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Perfect timing.
I mean, what a great thing. Like, he's like, I'm being a dad right now. I'm trying to work and be a dad. Like, I love that.
Right. It's, but I think about, you know, homeschooling my daughter outside during the early vote in front of the voter registrar's office. And that being used against me.
That is a civics class, my friend. That is what that is.
Look, you already know.
Marcus, I have a question.
Marcus is dadding right now.
Yeah, I know. But okay.
I'm sorry about that, everybody.
No, I meant you mentioned that the concept is fun. And I thought back to in the news about a day ago from NBC 12 in Richmond was about the teacher who had to resign because her OnlyFans profile came out. And then the news story about a day or so was that she's made nearly $1 million in 6 months doing it. And then if you're, let's say she wants to run for office one day, and that was already a known commodity. It says that she had to work nearly 24 years on her teacher salary just to make that same amount of money. And then that's how you spin it to be, okay, you need to raise teacher salary. So OnlyFans doesn't necessarily have to be an albatross around your neck. It could be something to point you in a direction of change.
I think everything can be used that way.
I was just about to say, Melissa.
Right? Like, yeah, like I think everything, you know, small business owners, like people want to get into people's finances and like, you know what I mean? Tear into people's finances and like, but they're a small business owner and like looking and go, well, as a small business owner, I can actually talk to voters and I understand legislation that would help me, that would have helped me not get into the position that I got into as a small business owner, as example. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think everything can kind of be turned and made into something that we can use to paint a picture to the voters of why it makes us a great, you know, why it makes this person a great candidate or myself or whatever. I do need to say Van Valkenburg unseated Dunavant and Henrico. So on the Senate side, I just see that they called that race for Van Valkenburg.
You
And
got a lot of money.
yeah, that but let me tell you something. Dunavant, that's Ken Stolley's sister. Yeah, Siobhan Dunavant is, and she's the OBGYN that doesn't prescribe women birth control. It looks like Monty Mason has jumped ahead just a little bit. Uh-oh. Emily Brewer, I know Emily Brewer is still looking like she's beating Clinton Jenkins. And then Russet, we didn't talk about Russet Perry and Segura, but that Perry-Segura Senate race in Loudoun County, Loudoun County's had a lot of turmoil with their school board. There's been just a lot of, Loudoun's kind of just a strange bird up there in Northern Virginia. But Segura, apparently the story just came out about him that his major donor was his father. The majority of the money that he received was from his father. And apparently there potentially are going to be something to do with their donations. Conrad, do you have some info on that?
I do, because I wanted to stay right on that race at the point where you finished, because we were going to have on former Delegate Guzman, and she had to drop out, but she gave me a list of notes, and in it was this particular race. So if you want to finish your thought on that, I didn't want to.
Go ahead.
Oh, let me get back to that. Okay. SD31 Tilt D. This is the most state Senate race in the country, I guess is what you put. This is where the Senate majority will be decided. District win for Wexton for 53% of the vote, but Youngkin with 51% of the vote. Segura not being from the district is hurting him. Russet Perry D, Loudoun prosecutor. She has a lead on fundraising. She has bought in $6 million for this race. National support has come to help Russet Perry. She's being attacked for not taking action in the scandal in Loudoun County Public Schools, as she was working in the Commonwealth's attorney's office at the time. She denied it. Very strong field operations, which help her get across the finish line. Independent expenditures are only at $44,000 from similar groups that participated in other races. On to Juan Pablo Segura, Republican business owner who moved into the district to run for office. The media has shared that he may still be living in Washington, D.C. Segura didn't have a primary, so he started his TV advertising as early as the summer. Youngkin has shown up multiple times in Loudoun County to campaign for him. Americans for Prosperity and Patriots for a Brighter America have done their largest investments in the race. He's the son of an Argentinian immigrant, and he's running a bilingual campaign. That is the notes from Ms. Guzman.
Yeah, sexual assault in public education. I know nothing about that. Nothing. I don't know shit about that.
Wow. So
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. It looks like Karen Greenhall is up 400 votes on Fagan's right now. But
is that closing?
No, I mean there's still six. There's still 6 precincts and 8,700 early votes left. So I think
I'm looking at the Fowler one right now. That one's still very tight. That is so freaking close.
Fowler one's kind of tight.
Also, a brief Richmond update. While I was on NBC 12, apparently there is a vote of a casino in Richmond.
Yeah.
And last I checked, 51 of 73 precincts have reported no, with about 73% so far.
Oh, okay.
If I'm not mistaken, too, Conrad, that casino is I think a minority owned, there's a lady, Kathy Hughes. She owns a media called Urban One and TV One, or Radio One and TV One. I remember maybe a year or two ago, a buddy of mine who actually works for the radio station at Radio One, they were telling this was a project that they've been working on in Richmond to bring up. So I if I'm not mistaken, I want to say it's a might be a black owned company that's trying to build this casino. So I just wanted to little sidebar about that. I am looking at some of the Senate race. So Marcus already called it for Lucas. Christy New Craig called it for that one. District 19 in the Senate. Okay, we already mentioned Bill DeSteph, called that one.
I didn't see that one yet. Bill DeStefano. Yeah,
I'm sorry. I'm
No, you're fine. I figured Bill DeStefano was gonna take that.
I'm looking at that score. I'm like,
oh, you got it. No, you got it. Yeah, man. Ooh, Aaron. Oh my God, that's not even 200 votes with Aaron.
I'm trying to look for Aaron. Hold
Between
on.
Rouse, it's Senate District 22. Between Rouse and Adams, it's not even 200 votes right now. Monty's ahead by like 600. Mason and Danny Diggs, that one.
Yeah, if Mason maintains that, even a slightly, the early vote is going to carry him.
It'll carry him.
Yeah, he'll be fine.
Yep, Jennifer. It looks like Jennifer Carroll Foy definitely got hers and the grip. They haven't called it, but she's spanking a dude she was running against. I voted for Carol Foy for governor.
So did I.
Was bummed.
Me three.
Look at that. Look at all those people. And we got McAuliffe, and then we got Youngkin because we had McAuliffe because Virginia apparently wasn't ready for a black woman. Like, I hate this place.
Yeah, I literally said that exact same thing. I was like, Virginia wasn't ready for a black female governor. I hate it here. Yeah, I hate it here. Yeah.
It's like sad because I feel as though not even just like a black woman, but like has Virginia ever had a female governor?
No.
And that's the thing. I mean, I guess that's another question when it comes to like higher up leadership, whether if it's governorship, presidency, is America, are they willing to, what I mean?
Voted for Winsome Sears, and she was on the top of a ticket.
I mean, was she really? Was she kind of riding a coattail though, in a sense?
Yes,
yeah.
But I mean that
she was absolutely.
It was possible to be voted for. I mean, if you put Foy on that same thing, it could have went the other way, and she would be governor.
Oh no, they would have never allowed that to happen. The Republicans would have.
That would have never happened.
As it was, they skewed. They went ranked choice voting within their own convention just to make sure that Youngkin got the nomination because they didn't want Trump and heels, Amanda Chase to. That's what she calls herself.
Right, that's what she is. Trump and heels.
Look, I don't know if it's too late, but I'm literally picturing. I'm like, wait, Trump wore heels one time. Wait a minute.
Yeah,
wait a minute.
No, DeSantis wears heels. But,
Yes.
By the way, Gibson has pulled ahead by at least 20 votes. So
yes. But yeah, like they're so they'll pretty much do anything to flip to get to essentially get it to where they want it, who they want, like whatever. But win some awful pick, but whatever. That we've only had 11 black senators like on the federal level, like ever. Like 11 ever. So I mean, and so when we talk about people of color being in these like highly elevated positions, right? I mean, Jennifer McClellan was our first black woman to be a congresswoman. So I mean, we're getting a lot of firsts, which is awesome. Sadly, the state just, I don't think Virginia's, I mean, we're going to entertain, I guess, a woman because it sounds like Abigail Spanberger is going to be probably going to potentially be the Democratic nominee for governor. We'll see. I'm sure there'll be a primary. There'll be several people, but Abigail's pretty popular. So, Virginia might be ready for a woman.
So just by looking at somebody,
I don't know how I feel about that though.
Same.
I don't know how I feel about that. If you want
former CIA,
who I would want to see is I would absolutely want to see Jennifer Carroll Foy run again and secure the nomination. Because there's no purpose for Jennifer McClellan to run because she's a congresswoman. Right. So I mean, I would prefer Abigail, Virginia.
Right, but Abigail will run because she's a congresswoman and she's a white woman, and they know that Virginia is ready for a woman governor, but not a
black woman governor.
Right. And
I hate it here. Sorry.
I hate it here.
There hasn't been any word of whether or not Lori wants to do that too, right? Or is she going to just stay relatively?
I mean,
retired?
I don't know. know. Like I've heard she's like really like into her pack. I think that she's, that she's doing. And I think I feel very strongly that the somewhere in the party, I don't know where, they're really rallying around, and probably the DCCC too, like rallying around Abigail. She's, I don't know. She's fresh. Listen, people like her. Some people like, she's like a magnet. Like people really are drawn to her. I'd like to get to know her. I'd like to find out more about her. I've met her a few times. But I would love to see Jennifer Carroll Foy run again. I would love it. I would love that. Looking like, let me see. Did we get any updates?
I was just about to ask, guys, is it looking like the Democrats are getting the House? I know it's very quite, early to say that, but is it looking like it's going to be more in the Democrats' favor for House? Because I know
we got 10, we got 42 to 32 right now. I mean, that's a 10 spread.
Yeah, I don't know that just yet, but I do want to highlight, I tried to reach out a couple of times to get Mr. Christian Hines on this very show because he's a great prognosticator of this. So I went to his page earlier yesterday, and his prediction for the 2023 elections for the Virginia General Assembly, he was forecasting Democrats will win control of the General Assembly by one seat in each chamber, 21-19 in the Senate and 51-49 in the House. And he has been an award winner on his prognostications before. So if right now it's looking that way, it could continue into the night.
Somebody on Twitter said, what if it was 50, 50, 20, 20? And I about fell over.
I'm looking at, okay, so now CNN.
I can't do that. I can't do it. My blood pressure would not take it. I can do it.
Oh, CNN literally.
Winsome?
No Winsome. Sorry, Arrington.
Winsome,
look, I've learned after the conversation. No, I'm letting the lady speak. I'm just thinking.
We're still stuck on Winsome. We're still stuck on a 50-50, 20-20. Like this is so, like my head might explode. I'm sorry. What does CNN say?
I literally just paused it just now. Okay, they were just showing. Okay, right now, House 52 Democrats leading, 48 Republicans leading in the House. Needs 51 of course to take control. Now Virginia's Senate, 22 Democrats leading and 18 Republicans leading, needs 21 to take control. So that's what it's saying. I don't know if that was close to what Christian was saying, Conrad, but
17-14. I don't know, Conrad, what do you have? I've got 17 Senate, 17-14 from Senate, like Democrats.
I haven't been tabulating.
Okay, well, on BPAP it makes it really nice for you. It says 42-32.
What page on BPAP? I was
so
just looking at
So I love it. It's if you go to like just the election results and you take away it automatically does featured races only. But if you take that away, you can see all the Senate districts, and then it's got this little blue and red bar at the top.
Okay, 17-14 right now. 9 under Senate
right,
for the got it.
Yep. You see, and so this actually, I just stopped going to the Department of Elections because their website hasn't even been updating. So I'm just using BPAP exclusively right now.
So, Jawan Ward keeps her seat. Shocker there. Yay. That is my delegate. Love her.
Love that.
AC has kept his,
he's still holding a
That's
huge
a wrap.
Brewers up 2,000 votes.
Brewers up.
Medarius is up.
Good. Man, that Gibson race is tough.
Hey, Arrington, didn't I prognosticate that Tony would only be about 35 to 40, even on an outperforming? He would only be about 40. He's at 40. So
you said it.
Yeah.
I bet Batten and Anderson go to a recount. I think it just depends. It depends. There's still 13,000 outstanding early votes left, but if it stays as tight as it is, like even with early votes, like it's gonna, because Youngkin did a big push for early vote this year.
Hey, Aaron pulled ahead.
Aaron pulled ahead. Yeah.
12,704 votes to 12,570.
Okay, so we got 200 lead here. It looks like Kat's not gonna. I don't think Kat's gonna pull through on this one. I think the spread's too big. Fagans. Let me see. Man,
Fagans is not.
Greenwald.
Yeah, I looked at that earlier.
No way. And that was like a leans Democratic, that new district. I mean, I know it was a concern, but.
And it's like I'm a little biased because know Mike very well, and I know how damn hard he's been working. I mean, he said before, like literally like 2 years in campaign, and like
he's been 19 months. Yeah, 19 months. He's been campaigning almost as long as I've known him. Like he's been campaigning, and that's only been like 2 years. So yeah, he's really been putting in the work. I mean, maybe it says it's still got 8,700 early votes left out.
Mm-hmm. That Kelly Fowler one, that's still tight, but I feel as though like Olenek in there kind of plays a part because he's getting,
so you got like 600 there, like in between. I mean, it's just not to say that it couldn't, but I don't know that he's gonna pull it. I was a little worried, but I don't.
I would ask two guys, because we're getting towards our time we're about to end. How important do these elections affect, our current governor? Because, the rumor has it that he might make a presidential run. And I know, Melissa, I had you on my podcast. We talked about, you talked about other solutions that he might do further on.
Sure.
But they have, they've spoken how much involved he's been on the local election and really trying to get majority control and this and that. So how big of effect are these elections towards our current governor? Whoever wants to answer that one.
Well, here, I took some notes just today, and J. Miles Coleman, who's the associate editor of Sabado's Crystal Ball, which is a very good prognosticator of this stuff over at UVA, thinks that the 2021 Virginia elections were sort of like a Republican ceiling, and going strictly by partisanship of House districts, Democrats have a higher chance of winning a majority. And that, I think we're seeing that right now. But he would point out that Youngkin makes Republicans win by leading a ticket. He's not on the ticket right now. So it's sort of like maybe the Republicans aren't as good if you don't have someone so bad as Terry.
Right. Well, and I think too, like as far as the way this affects, I mean, if we get the majority in the Senate and the House, I mean, ultimately we can push bills, but he has a veto power, and we know because Republicans fall in line, right? Mm-hmm. That we're not going to get a super majority to get anything passed to overthrow his veto, right? So I think this is what's really going to be critical here is something we haven't had yet. We haven't had a Republican governor like Youngkin with a democratically led Senate and House that's going to put forth bills, and it's going to put him right on the spot. If we win control, it's going to put him in a position of having to explain himself when he vetoes bills through this session. And why are you vetoing bills that are going to help the Virginians, right? So I think for him, could potentially be a problem too, because whether it's presidential or like I think he may be going for just Senate run that against Tim Kaine, all of
that's exactly what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
Tim Kaine's a governor himself.
Right. Correct. And so, and the thing about Virginia Beach is that like Tim Kaine has Virginia Beach on lock, even with Republicans, and Youngkin knows that. So I think he thinks that that's a clean sweep opportunity to take the Senate seat, which would then put him in a better position to run for president in 2028, because then he was a governor. He did a Senate, 4 years. He wouldn't even complete his Senate term. Even if he did win, he wouldn't complete a Senate term to run for president in 2028. So but I think that like ideally, if we get control of both, we have opportunity not to pass anything extreme, but I think we have some opportunity to negotiate and see what Governor Youngkin is made of and what he's willing to compromise on and what he's not.
Yeah, Melissa, ditto.
I wish Marcus was up here. I want to know what he thinks.
I know. Look,
did.
it's always great to get his light on stuff. Look, y'all, it's been 2 hours go by fast. I just want it goes by fast when you're having fun. I say that it goes by fast when you're having fun. We definitely have to, do this again. I know, even though we're ending this, my eyes will still be glued to the TV and my laptop.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna go party. I'm gonna go, even though I don't think Kat is probably gonna pull it out. I'm gonna go and at least enjoy.
Does Kat want to say hey?
I mean, she might. Like, I can go grab her. Hold on.
Anything can happen. Anything can happen.
Look, I mean, it's next cycle starts tomorrow.
Starts tonight. Yeah,
it starts tonight.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's I don't know. It's
Hello.
Hi. I'm watching my friends win, and that's wonderful right now.
You had an awesome.
Sorry, this is Nakia, and then you've got Arrington.
Oh, Nakia, I'm half blind. Hi, Nakia. Oh, I know Connor.
I'm fully blind. So.
Woo,
I got good eyes. Not trying to brag.
Boo!
Gita?
Yeah.
So Kelly.
I think Kelly might pull
Kelly.
it.
Yeah, I think Kelly will be fine.
This is so different when you get involved and you know the people who are involved and you're looking at the screen and it's like, it's not just me. I want to watch my friends win. I want to see my friends win.
Yeah, still see Fagan's down at the moment by about 250 votes.
I think he may make the threshold for recount, and also we have to consider provisional ballots, because provisional ballots won't be. So some of these like super tight races, we still have a chance if they're really, really tight with some provisionals.
Provisionals, right.
Mm-hmm.
I think Jess is going to be one of those for sure.
Oh, for sure. Agreed. Yeah.
And Paul was just explaining to us too, like somehow some are showing at 100%, and then we're over here at 99. Like, why aren't our votes counted yet? And he says that everything gets transported to a building that's owned by Build a Staff where all the voting machines.
We don't want to make any of those voting irregularity claims like the Republicans like to do.
So everything has to go to Build a Staff's building to travel from all the places and go to one place to be counted here. Where's my camera? What am I looking at? Right here?
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm blind and cross-eyed right now.
It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah.
Well, you have earned a couple of drinks, and
I've been on like the same shot of whiskey for an hour and a half.
Oh, that's not nearly enough.
I'm just holding it. It's a prop.
Well, like, we're talking about the night, Cat, and how it's looking right, how important these elections are. What would you say for just for voters out there, as far as just to how important are these? How what's at stake right now with all these elections happening?
Well, there's a lot at stake, but what I'm seeing, I mean, I'll feel less bad about 99 if I'm watching is true. I'm watching the Washington Post too, and seeing that we really are going to hold this house. Mm-hmm. So then I'm okay. As long as we can do that, I'm okay. So these races are important, but I think we're doing what we're supposed to be doing right now. I mean, it's happening.
42-32
at the for me, that's okay. It doesn't happen for me, but I think it's happening for us.
What were you saying, Conrad?
Last I checked, is 42-32 and 26 undecided here in the House.
Yeah. Yep. That's very good.
Well, look, Kat, we have been going on all avenues, in the Commonwealth, really, especially in the Hampton Roads area where we're at, and we've spoken about the importance, what's at stake right now, going on in District 99, going on in the Commonwealth. We know you fought a hard campaign. A skinny one. A skinny one. Any anything you would like to, just to say for those who are behind you 100%, anything you would like to say?
Yeah, I feel like that there's a bit of a disservice to voters here in 99 that was done, because we got the energy at the polls. We were out there working the precincts today, and we know what people felt, and that our message was resonating, and we could have rippled out a little further if we could have thrown a few more coins in the fountain, maybe. You know what I mean? And I think that especially here in Virginia Beach, there were some women, and Kelly included, that Kelly's pulling it out. Kelly didn't get a whole lot of support, a whole lot of help, other than from her, her own people.
Tori too.
We could have done more. We could have had a bigger show. And all of us are just here setting the pace and being the opening act for whoever Democrat is going to come after us. So for me here in 99, it's going to be when Missy's fighting Jen. So it was important, I think, that I had the support. So Missy would have, even if I didn't win, again, those people who voted for Kat would have been more likely an automatic Missy voter or an automatic Tim Kaine voter. And I think we need to be more like my campaign slogan, future focused, forward thinking, however you want to look at it. You have to be the steps ahead, and they do that better than us, the other party. They just do. You need to look at it for like building a baseball team. Okay, well, we're a young team and we're good, right? We're young, but we're good. We're getting better every year. We need to build ourselves like a baseball team.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Kat, I would say this, and I'm a Chesapeake resident, so I wasn't too as far as with going on with your campaign, in tune with going on in your campaign in your district. But I would definitely say this, definitely nothing but respect for you for again practicing what you preach, because a lot of us can complain about what's happening in our communities, but ask if we gonna run, right? That's a huge obstacle right there alone. So the fact that you took that leap, you was backing up, practicing what you preach, and you said, look, I see an issue going on, well, I'm gonna do something about it. So again, I just want to say, my nothing but respect for you, and I know it's not gonna be the last time we hear about you. And it's been awesome to meet you.
If my son doesn't decide that he wants to run for this seat next time, right? Because he's real fired up, and he's a senior at Cox High School.
I know that's right.
And there's still an opportunity to be the youngest member of Virginia's House of Delegates. And this inspired him up, and he worked.
Listen.
He worked a precinct with her today.
Wow. Yeah. That's awesome. Well, look, young people, man, they're passionate. They're right now it needs to continue to grow like that. We need more of your sons, more young people getting more involved, especially in the local community, because I think all we see is federal this, federal that, but we really forget what happens in our backyard, and having that knowledge and common knowledge of, hey, who's serving on your city council, who's serving in your school board, who's serving on these committees. So it's very important, the fact that he's very involved and very engaged. So I'm definitely gonna be checking in on that.
And one more thing, I just want to put this in. You saw what happened at William and Mary today, or around William and Mary today. So do you think there'll be any of that here in Hampton Roads? Are we going to find out that we had a lot of kids who went in and they registered today and they filed provisional ballots? Are we going to see any kind of impact from that?
I hope. I mean, what would you guys say? Nikki, what would you say?
I mean, what schools though? That's the thing. In the districts that where the university populations would really make a difference.
Maybe not even college kids. Maybe some high school kids.
Yeah.
Maybe some kids who aren't in college. Maybe some kids who were just working, regular jobs out of school that aren't, associated with a big university.
I mean, it could. But I guess I just kind of see it as, in the districts where that would, where I see that making an impact, were kind of already handedly blue.
College towns.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Well, look,
It's a lovely
But I
room.
mean, I might be wrong.
No, it's
'cause
a background.
I was in the
I
background.
turn out omniscient. This is a whole new playing field.
It's a whole new world, y'all.
Yeah, it's a whole new world.
Sure is.
So
Whole new
you know,
world.
I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. Shit. Yeah.
They tend to be. They do things more last minute. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very true.
Procrastination to the end. I got a teenager in my own.
Mm-hmm.
I'm about to yawn too.
Yeah, I was. Look, Kat, we thank you so much. Look,
Thank
enjoy
you.
the rest of your night.
Thank you, Miss Cat.
Is it 11 yet? Are they dropping these early votes? I'm
Not
looking
yet,
at
not yet. Yeah, soon.
All right, guys. Thanks so much. Thank you
You're
so
welcome,
much.
you're
We're going to go back
welcome,
and look at
you're
numbers.
There you go. And
All right.
Melissa, you're awesome.
You're
Nakia,
awesome.
you're awesome.
You're
Conrad, man, of course you're awesome. Any
Arrington's
last
awesome.
words? I mean,
No.
no. Stop it. Okay. No,
Just trying to pull this thing through. Let's pull this thing through.
Right.
Absolutely.
I think this is a really good experience. I'm really glad we're able to do this live and give our prognostications and our hopes. I think it's looking decent at the moment for both houses. So I think we can go to sleep a little confident tonight.
Yeah, I
Shit,
think so
Danny
too.
Diggs just pulled ahead. God
See,
damn
right
it.
when he said about going to sleep, confidence. You see what
God
Melissa just.
damn it.
Yeah, that's what I do. I'm a bit of a jinx.
Well, hold on. What's left though? Let's see.
Are we talking Senate wise or just like all the
Senate,
races in the House?
No, I'm talking about in that race, the
Oh.
Mason.
Mason is there's 2,400 votes, 43 of 43 precincts, only 2,400 early votes, and there was a big jump that they just dropped on Danny Diggs, and he's leading by like 50 votes.
Mhm.
It's getting
Yeah,
like
I don't
Conrad,
know
like
if
you said in the beginning.
I don't know if Clint Jenkins is going to be successful.
I don't. Yeah. What about Karen? What about Karen Jenkins in the House?
She won. I think she won hers.
Did Karen Jenkins win?
I want to say.
No, I thought
She's
she
down.
No, she's
Oh, she's
down.
down.
Yeah.
She's on the school board. What is that race? 90, 80,
That's 89.
89. Oh yeah, she's down.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Damn, and there's no early votes left either. Shit. Man, Karen Greenhall, but there's still 3 precincts and 8,700 votes. It's fine.
Aaron is up about 400 votes on Adams right now.
Yeah, I see that. Kelly's getting. She's got like 1,000 lead. It looks like. Nadarius has got a decent lead now. Good.
I'll say this, Nakia. I think the way it's gonna end for the Jenkins households, they're gonna regret that commercial.
Yeah.
I
I agree. I think Nikki and I talked about this. I don't how that that was the wrong move. That response video was the wrong move.
What?
I mean, okay, well, it's not that
right response.
It's not that a response video was the wrong.
No.
It was that
video.
response video.
Yeah, that
was the
response
wrong
video.
move.
Clarification, that response video, 100%. So Susanna's still ahead Gibson, but man, Batten. I mean, there's still 13,000 votes, but she got like a 1,600 lead when they dumped some of those early votes in there.
Yeah, I think that Monty Mason's going to be okay because he's only down by like 50 votes. And with the early vote, with that leaning more Democratic and it being more so Newport News proper, I think he'll be fine.
What do you think about Cardoza?
Oh, Cardoza won.
Oh, he has it. Yeah, he has it.
Oh, it's not showing that on VPAP.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap. Okay.
That's a wrap. But I told you that. I told you that. And the thing is, and this is another conversation about Democratic complacency. You know, this was the conundrum in that whole race. It's like you had 2 Black men running in largely a largely predominantly white drawn district. And especially when you look at the fact that AC Cardoza was a known quantity because of what happened with his race in his last election, and nobody knew who the fuck Jairus Taylor was. And I'm gonna just call a spade. You know, you can't fucking just ride on the Hampton University name to push you through. And that's what I really think he did, you know, like at the canvas launches that I was at, you know, Mamie Locke would show up. And again, that's HU. You know, Gayleen was his campaign manager, Hampton University. And that in itself, you know, you can't just sit there and bank on that being your only, you know, your bread and butter to success. And if, you know, and I'm not saying that even with you know, with extra effort on that there was a real path to success for this race anyway, because of the demographics of that district. But yeah, because I mean, it's, you know, a little piece of Hampton, York County, and Pocosin. Yes.
Pocosin.
That
Pocosin.
Pocosin.
Whitey.
Sundown.
Right. Yes.
So I mean,
there's voters that were not happy with either one of their choices.
Right. You know, and it's that district in itself, the redraw of that district was red to the core. So, I mean, I had no expectation other than the result.
Y'all, I think it's going to be 22-18. That's what I think.
A perfect way, y'all, to come to a close on this awesome conversation we've been having. Like I said, we definitely have to do it again. Appreciate those who tuned in. Definitely want to shout out again, Mr. Conrad SchezzVenter, host of SchezzWho. Conrad, how can we continue to tune into your podcast, man, to your show?
Hop on over to the YouTube channel SchezzWho, hit subscribe on that. I'll keep bringing out content just like Mr. Arrington Gavin does. I need to chase him.
Look, y'all, check out the Arrington Gavin Podcast every Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time via podcast, then 1 p.m. Via YouTube. Our YouTube channels are Smooth Club Media. Truly appreciate it. Look, we gonna stay up and continue to watch this, but we want to thank Miss Nakia Miller, Miss Melissa Luxon. We had Marcus Labrisi on earlier, and also Miss Kat Porfield making a special guest appearance, and everybody that's participated with this. Shout out to Mr. Nick Hammond Walters, our producer, working the controls the whole night, so we truly appreciate him. Look, y'all be easy, drive safe. If y'all leaving some watch parties, all that good stuff, I'm just gonna take a long drive to my bedroom right now, so goodbye.